Guys, welcome back to another episode of the One Step at a Time podcast with your host, the Ocean Flight 111, heading straight to full potential with zero delays. Guys, as you can see, I got another background. You're probably wondering, Martin, you're switching up the backgrounds a lot. Martin, you're switching up the backgrounds very frequently. And you'd be correct. You'd be very, very correct. I'm in a new location, a new place, a new environment. Guys, I moved to London. This episode is called... Well, I gotta figure it out. There'll be something to do about moving to London. But yeah, this episode is going to be all about moving to London. Why I moved to London. How I'm experiencing so far. And little things I've learned and little worries or anxieties that I picked up along the way before moving here or even living here. So I'll give you context. I moved to London. When did I move to London? I moved to London 3.5 weeks ago. 3.5 weeks. A young Irish man. Not sure about the world. Trying to find out his next vocation, his next path, his next adventure. Where will he move? The city of London comes whispering in the horizon in the background. Come to London, Martin, come to London. God, I must listen to this voice and move to London. Guys, you know me. I like to go on these rambles. Anyhow. So yeah, I moved to London. So to give you context, it was November 2024. I was on a jog. I was on my 30 runs and 30-day jogs. And I was kind of conversating my head back and forth. I was like, well, I could move to London because my friend Finn, aka the WP Master, was saying, man, move to London, we'll get an apartment together. Or I could move to Morocco. Two different paths, two different options, and two different, very vastly different destinations. So why Morocco? Morocco, I was thinking, live by the beach, do a lot of swimming, have more relaxed, more spiritual kind of chapter. And then London, I was more thinking, if I want to do London, more attacking my dreams, more running at things. And I kind of thought of myself, I think I'm in the chapter of my life where I'm running at things. I think I'll always be running things throughout my life, but I think this is the chapter where it makes sense to really run at my dreams. And I thought, where would be the best place to do that but London? So, and obviously my best friend being here, well, a couple of my best friends living here definitely made a difference to that. I don't think I would have moved over if I didn't have my best friends living here. So, I moved over to London. So I'll probably get into it straight away and then tell some funny stories along the way. But yeah, let's start off. Why did I move to London? Well, first off, my pops moved to London when he was my exact same age. So I'm 27. So technically he was 28, but for the sake of the story, we'll say he was 27 too. So he actually moved to London when he was 27, or 28. Well, yeah, let's be honest, he was 28. So the fact that he was around the same age as me moving to London is like, I just think is bananas. And also my mother moved here when she was actually the exact same age. So she was 27, my father's 28. So they both moved from different places. But I just thought, isn't that such a crazy, bewildering thing that I would move the exact same time, not purposefully, but just happens to where like everything's lined up in my life. So I just think that's absolutely crazy that I would move to London the exact same time as they moved to London back in the 80s, late 80s, and how vastly different it is. So why did I move? I guess bring it back to why did I move to London. I'm really in the chapter of my life I want to run at my dreams. You know, I'm someone who has a lot of dreams, and I'm someone who believes that in order to have a fulfilling life, I think you must have dreams, and even if you don't succeed at them, you must make a very strong attempt. You know, you must invest some time and effort and spirit into like running at your dreams and fulfilling your dreams. And even if you don't get there, I think it really pleases your spirit, your soul to run at your dreams and really make the most of that vision you had at one point in your life that you really wanted and still have. So I think that's really important when it comes to happiness and it comes to just giving energy and excitement. You know, I repeated a lot in this podcast about how important energy and excitement is in my life. I feel like if I don't have energy and excitement, then life is this mundane, tedious task. Like, if I'm not getting out of bed, like, now don't get me wrong, a lot of mornings I get out of bed and I don't feel good. But if I don't, like, remember, my life is pretty good, guys. I'm very grateful. Then it can be very hard for me to run at my day. And I keep emphasizing run, but just take action, take the necessary action and the imperative action required for me to have a happy life, to have a successful life, to have a fulfilling life. But yeah, it's funny because sometimes, some mornings I wake up, right, and I just be really feeling down the dumps, like lacking energy. And then I get in the shower, in the cold shower, and I start feeling that cold water hit my skin, and I start doing my woof, woof, woof. And just get the blood flowing and the energy flowing and the excitement growing to like, oh yeah, I am alive. I'm healthy. I have a beautiful family. I'm about to have my breakfast. I'm in this cool water. I have a roof over my head. All these ticks tick, green tick, green tick, green tick. And all this abundance starts flowing in from the funnel then when you start reminding yourself and getting that energy going. So say all that to say, moving to London affords me more opportunities. So I was living in Dublin. For those of you who don't know, I lived in, let's just list out the places I lived in. I lived in Sligo, because I'm from Sligo, Galway, Athlone, Dublin 3 times, Sitges in Spain, Barcelona, Palafrugell, and London. So I was thinking, damn, that's a whole lot of places. And I was like, damn, imagine when I'm 90 what the story's going to be like. And I was on the phone to my mother, and I was telling her, oh yeah, eventually do a year in New York for the movie. She was on about, like, what movie? I was like, my life movie. I was like, when I look back at my movie, my life, because I see my life as a movie, I was like, remember that time I moved to London, or remember that time I did a year in New York, or a year in Colombia, or Nice, or somewhere like that. Like, I really do see myself doing a lot of that. So moving to London gives you more opportunities. Obviously our company Excel, a lot of our clients and whatnot, a lot of the people we work with in London, so that's afforded me the opportunities to meet a lot of cool people and be in a lot of new environments. I was in so I'll give you an example like this. This is kind of maybe the difference to if I moved to Morocco or London. But I was on a photo shoot with a very cool lady, one of the clients we're working with, a very cool lady, like charismatic, creative, real character, and like really respect her. And first off, it was kind of funny because I used to follow her a lot on social media and stuff, and then a couple of years later on a photo shoot with her. But we were doing it, and then we had to before we started all the photo shoot and stuff, we had to turn around in a circle and introduce herself. And everyone introduced themselves, and I introduced me, and she turned around and she said, oh man, do you do presenting work? I'm like, oh no. She's like, oh, you make a really good presenter. And I'm like, oh, thank you, because a lot of people had said that to me in the past, and I do take it as a compliment. But when you see someone who's in that field and you respect a lot that does that for like at a high level, I mean, this person's very successful, and it really means a lot. So like having experiences like that are very dear to me. And they're not the type of experiences I would have had in Morocco, if you get me. But so that's one example so far of it happening, just being in close proximity to everything I want. I want in terms of my dreams and stuff. So even so far, that's been happening. Another reason is the podcast. While there was opportunities in Dublin, everything's accessible now. Like I had this idea to get Pitbull on the podcast. Pardon me. I'm actually making a video about it, a YouTube video about it. But just like that could have happened in Dublin, but it's like almost there's this sense of possibility, because you're in a city that has that accessibility, and that's so different to if I was living in Dublin, and it feels like it's more possible. It's like the opportunity sits around the corner waiting for you to take it, for you to grasp it. So obviously opportunity, more guests, and then just being in such a fast-paced city, because I haven't lived in one of the major cities. I lived in Barcelona. Guys, I got to take some water. Now, guys, I know what you're thinking. Martin, why are you drinking out of a plastic bottle? I know. Please, judge me. Usually I wouldn't say, don't judge me. I'm like, judge me. I'll take the judgment. I left my bottle at Dylan's, my best friend Dylan's house, which is almost 2 weeks ago. I need to collect that bottle. But anyhow, being in the city, and the major city, I haven't lived in a major city before. I've lived in Barcelona. Have you been to Barcelona? I've been to Barcelona. Shout out all my Catalonians out there. Catalonia. So I've lived in Barcelona, but it's not one of the top 3 major cities. So like, you know, the major cities like LA, New York, London, or Paris or whatever. So yeah, Barcelona is a big city, but it was a different type of vibe in Barcelona. Like, you know, if you've been to Barcelona or you live there, you know the crack. Like, it's a very relaxed city. It's a beautiful city. It's an artistic city, but it's a very relaxed city. It's a very slow paced city versus somewhere like London. It's fast paced. It's moving at a very high speed. So I've never lived in one of them cities before. So that's exciting. Moving here. And also, here's something fair. So I moved to London. Obviously, I'm here for my dreams. I'm attacking them. I'm running at them, trying my best. But also, I was a little bit anxious and worried, as you could imagine. But it's funny, since I've been here, it was almost like my mind was telling me I was going to be a little anxious of like the transport or going on the tubes and stuff, because like I was like, oh, what if I get lost? You know, like you're natural. But then when I was doing it, I realized my body was like, no, you've done this before. You're like, this is normal to you. It's funny because my mind was getting a little anxious about it, but my body was just so used to the scenarios and how I would react, because I've lived so many places now that I have that experience. And that experience is so valuable. That experience is gold dust. Experience really is. Wow. It's like, if I was to put it in comparison, compare and contrast, if when I moved to Dublin when I was like 20 versus now, like if I moved to London when I was 20, oh my God, I would have got eaten alive. I would have been a lamb out to slaughter. I would have been eaten alive. It would have been an unpleasant experience, to say the least. So, yeah, just been a little bit more eased into it, which is really cool. And yeah, I just want to bring it back to the more opportunities and stuff. I was doing counselling, and my counsellor, shout out her, legendary, she asked me, why am I moving to London? And it's funny because when I said, oh, I'm moving to London, she said, oh, London. And I was like, I know. But I had to catch myself. I was like, because before I moved here, I had this kind of skewed negative perception, which, don't get me wrong, is some of it is reality. Like, don't get me wrong, I am going to get into the pros and cons of it. And guys, I've only been here a month, so it's not like I wouldn't say I have the most educated or most well-researched opinion on London as of yet, but I can only give you what I've experienced so far. But when I think of London, there was that like this like darkness or greyness or dreariness that like I would when I've been here before is kind of like what I've seen, even like from the buildings or like from the people. Not so much from the people, because I hadn't experienced enough to say that, but you get where I'm going with this. But then I had to catch myself, and I was like, hold on a second here now. Anywhere I go in the world, it's essential, it's quintessential that I remain myself and remain my path I'm going on. And this kind of brings me to the second part of moving to London. I was worried that I would move here and kind of lose the sense of who I am, because who I am is very much rooted in chatting to trees and being one with nature and being very kind and being very conversational with anybody. I would say holding on to my oh, actually I got a really good one here for you, but holding on to that really pure joy in my heart and not letting anything come near or destroy it. And so I was like a bit weary. I was like, I don't want to lose that, because London it's a very business city, and the first week I moved here, I experienced that. Like, the first week was very intense, and it's probably as intense as it could have been. Like, I felt like when that first week when I moved here, because work was pretty intense, and the energy around me was intense, I would say. So the first week, geez, I was like, if this what London's going to be like, I don't know. But thankfully, the last couple of weeks have been more eased. But yeah, I was worried about, like, I suppose a little bit my insecurities about just being in businessy stuff, and like, because I've kind of had one foot out, one foot in over the last about year or so, because like I've been like in Dublin, so while I have been in the music industry, I've been kind of one foot out, one foot in. But here, being in the city, it has me more in close proximity to different work things and clients and whatnot, and different opportunities of that regard. So yeah, but yeah, that was a worry of mine. And when I went out for me and Finn was having drinks, and shout out Berm, I was like, and I asked Berm, he's lived here for many years, I was like, shout out Berm, he's a cool guy, and does many great things, big in the music industry, shout out Berm. And I asked him, I was like, oh Berm, do you have any advice of like being here and whatnot? And he was like, oh man, just know what you're doing and don't let anyone take you off your path of what you're doing, because people are going to try to tell you should do this, you should do that, but just keep on your path of what your vision is. And that kind of hit home, because I do have a pretty clear vision of what I want to accomplish here. And again, I would have said in previous episodes, but it's like the kitchen. There's so many more ingredients here. But again, guys, you have to have the clear vision of the formula and the recipe. You have to know your recipe, or else it doesn't matter if you have 100 million ingredients. If you don't know how to cook, like with your vision, and use your ingredients correctly, then it doesn't matter how many opportunities you're going to get in life. You'll waste them all, because you really need to know your formula and what you want to make and where you're going with something. Or else it doesn't matter how many things you're given, you just waste everything. And I definitely feel like having that roadmap and vision of what you want to do is essential. Or else opportunities, well, you'll get opportunities, you make some of them. Not only will you waste a lot of opportunities, but you won't make the most of the other possible opportunities that would arise if you had a roadmap. So that's just a little bit about being in the city and making sure I have a clear path. I guess worries about being here, I guess obviously the natural ones. Like, bruh, it's an expensive city. It's an expensive city, and I am very grateful that I've worked hard over the last couple of years to be financially a better place. But it is like, even the first couple of weeks, like, we're eating out a lot, and like, guys, I'll be honest with you, I don't even really like eating out. It's not something I really like even doing. Like, I don't usually enjoy the food too much. It's nice, but I like the camaraderie and I like the celebration around food, around supper, around something that's well cooked, and the joy and the laughter around, and your conversation, the conversation that it opens, and the different pathways and stuff, things like that. But I'm not really a big let's go out for food kind of guy. I liked homemade meals, and I've kind of grown up on homemade meals. Like, we wouldn't really went out to eat many times when we were younger. Well, there is a nice sweet memory. I'll come back to that in a second. But so I don't really like eating out, so careful about spending and stuff. And well, I will say again, I'm so grateful. I'm right down the road from Lidl W. Now the Lidl is closed. It only opens. It opens at 11 o'clock on a Sunday and closes at 6, which is a bit of funny times. But I suppose it's better than Spain. But even though I kind of respect the guys in Spain who close on a Sunday, Lidl closes on a Sunday. But anyhow, moving back to London and whatnot. So I decided I'm going to keep this episode first like 15, 20, 25 minutes all about London, and then I'll get into some updates and stuff, because I'm trying to keep more on point. But yeah, obviously the worries of, like, you know, budgeting and whatnot, and just being in a whole new city and experiencing that in terms of financially, like how much things cost, how easily you'll spend money, different bills and stuff, which is a different kettle of fish to like somewhere like Spain. Like, guys, I don't know how many times I said this on the podcast, but there was one time in Spain, right, where I was living in a place called Palafrugell, and I had like €10 in my bank account. But I was just survived every week. Like, our rent was okay and whatnot, but bruh, like some weeks I had like maybe €20, 15, €20, and I made that last the whole week. I got enough food with that, and then just literally just didn't spend anything, just jogged and did a little work. But hey, we'll go into that a whole other time. But so that's definitely one curveball, just understanding that. Another one is people, right? Understanding people, okay, and their intentions, because I won't lie, it's been a long time since I've really interacted with a lot of new people and new environments and circumstances, that it's kind of in a both a good way and challenging way. But because I'm in so many new circumstances and environments and scenarios with new people, it's encouraging me to like make sure I'm acting correctly in the way I'm confident, and just making sure that like I'm communicating correctly. And unless you're in new environments with new people, you won't experience that, because if you're in the same circumstance and environments with the same people over and over, you're not really challenged on growing. So I would say even over this first month, I've grown so much, in terms of like how I communicate and how I come across and whatnot. I would also say though, the caveat to that, or maybe the opposite of that, is not letting that affect you too much, because it's so easy to overthink things. Like, it's so easy when you're in new environments of like, oh, I got to act a certain way and whatnot. So it's trying to find that balance, the equilibrium of being yourself, but growing to being a better version of yourself, but also not overthinking how you're acting. Because the minute you start overthinking, guys, it's over. The minute you start overthinking how you wear and whatnot, you're removing what's moving. Great quote from Andre 3000, I've said before, but when you think too much, you're removing what's moving. Like when you're in motion, when you're just in motion, you're just being yourself, and it's effortless. But when you're overthinking, you start putting this barrier sometimes in front of yourself. And it's good to be strategic about things and think different scenarios. But when you're in the scenario, be present in the scenario. So, and that's just the thing too about my overall character, just being a little insecure about different things, but just kind of spotting them in my journal when I write them, being confident, evaluating them, and then make a decision and move forward. And putting your heart in the best place to make that decision of who you are and what you believe in and how you're going to act. So that's kind of like one I won't lie that's been on my mind, because just with different things and meeting new people and wanting to be yourself. But I guess something else, guys, I was watching, this is important too and connected to London, because like London's such a businessy place. Wait, I want to kind of divide this into thoughts. London's a business place. Let me bring back to the people, and then I'll move into the next thought. With the people, so I've remained myself, right? I've remained myself of, like, example, I was just in this Tesco Express in the central London, and the guy had nice shoes, and I was like, oh man, nice kicks. And he turned around and smiled. I was like, oh, thanks, man. And so little things like that are so important to me. And that's the energy I put out, and that's the reason I meet so many nice people. But then... it's so funny how one interaction can like hurt your confidence a little bit, but you just got to keep going. I was in Lidl, and I was like, oh sorry man, do you know where the coconut milk is? And he just stared at me, and I was like, oh sorry man, you don't work here. And he just stared at me again, because I thought he worked there, and I was like, I thought he was gonna fucking run after me. So I was like, oi, you give me some dirty look, I tell you that. And he looked quite intimidating. But it's funny, most people, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find tons of great people, and that's been the scenario so far. Now, granted, I'm very grateful. It's a nice area I live in, but at the same time, when I've been just running around the city, like I would like use like so many examples. Like I was just I was down at one of the tube stations, and I was just staring and I was wondering where I was going, and this lovely French lady just asked me, she's like, oh Matt, I was going to say Martin, she didn't know my, she was like, oh sorry, are you lost? And I was like, oh no, I'm good, thank you. She's like, oh I thought you were lost, it's okay. And I was like, oh thank you for your help though. Little things like that have happened. So and not, you gotta, when you move somewhere, this is so important. When you're moving somewhere new, you want to take into consideration people's advice of dynamics in a city, but you gotta make your own way in it too. You gotta like, people are gonna give you some good advice, and then people are gonna give you advice that is heavily centered around their experience. But guess what? Their experience is not your experience. So take it with a pinch of salt, you know? Trust someone's opinion and take with a pinch of salt, but also know that you're going to decide what type of experience you have to the utmost. And that's definitely something I've had to take into consideration. I was like, wait, hold on a second. Remember now the type of way I do things. Take advice from where I know I need it, and continue moving on where I don't need it. So that's just something I think I've realized. But yeah, that's just with people, man. And I guess meeting people, one thing I've noticed too, right, in London, this is one thing I've noticed in London, is, because I'm around more people, is you meet similar characters. So like, example, I met a girl in Galway years ago, and she was a lovely girl, really artistic, beautiful, beautiful girl, but she was a bit flaky. like a very flaky in terms of like trying to get her to be in one place at one time, or get contact her, or like meet up and then cancel, that type of energy. And she had the purest heart, but like just pure flaky, and you just wouldn't know what to expect too sometimes. Just like you don't know where she'd be or what she'd come out with sometimes. And it's a certain type of character. When you're around her, it's a certain type of feeling. And that's funny, you go around the world and you meet the same type of person, completely different human being, but with the same characteristics and the same kind of energy. And you're like, hold on a second, I've met you before. So it's funny going around the world. Like even in New York, we met one girl, and I was like, I know the type of girl you are, or not in terms of who you are as a human being, but just some characteristics. And then the same way you meet certain lads, you're like, okay, I've been around your type, or people that are similar to you before. So it's amazing that you go around the world and experience that. But that's just a thing with people, and obviously know their intentions, because I'm not going to fill myself with fucking compliments and say this. I'm a very flawed human being, but I do go above and beyond to have pure intentions for the most part, and try my best, and just being aware when people don't, and kind of spotting that, I guess. And it's not an easy thing to do sometimes, but I'm trying to and being okay. Here's another thing: being okay when you can't trust someone, because you don't need to trust everybody, you know. And what I mean by that is, you don't. When I think of trust, I think trust in someone in my life, but it can be just day-to-day pleasantry trust. Because you're only going to really have that undeniable, unbreakable trust with a couple people in your life. There's only going to be a handful of people realistically, and maybe your family, that you'll have that undeniable trust. So knowing that it's okay that you're not going to have that unbreakable trust with everybody you meet, and that's 100% okay. And a lot of people would know that already, but I'm kind of just realizing that, and that doesn't mean that the people you meet aren't lovely people. It just means that, like, it's okay to have a certain level of a relationship with them. So that's one thing. And just the business. Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's I think it comes back to a recent thing about, I think when it comes to business, and I think something I struggle with sometimes, is like likable, and this insecurity of having to be likable, because I don't really care when people don't like me. As much, like, I do my best to like make them feel good, but at the end of the day, like, not everyone's gonna like you, and that's perfectly fine. But it's still, I know that, but deep down sometimes it's like this insecurity, and it might come from when I was younger or whatnot, but this insecurity, like, I hope they like me. Instead of being like, whoever's gonna like you is gonna like you, and then the rest ain't gonna matter. Because I was watching something too. I was watching Dave Bautista. He's an actor, for all you who don't know. He's also a legendary WWE star. He'll probably be in the Hall of Fame at one point. And when he moved into WWE in the early 2000s, he was a bit like, he was very quiet and he didn't want to step on any toes. But then when he got inducted into this thing called Evolution, Triple H, his mentor, said to him, he's like, look, a lot of people aren't going to like this and they're going to start treating you very poorly. But guess what? You're not here to make friends. You're here to do business. And that one stuck with me. Knowing when you're in an environment to make friends or you're in an environment to do business. And that stuck out to me. I was like, because I do have that in me. But I guess sometimes I don't maybe know how to use it, or I don't correctly use it. And it's that hunger of knowing when, like, you're doing business. And I don't mean you start being nasty to anyone or start treating people unpleasant, but you start caring less about being likable and more getting to the success of something. So yeah, that's just something I've been it's been kind of back and forth in my head a little bit. And yeah, I was just thinking about that, because it is an insecurity about being likable and stuff and whatnot. But anyways, I suppose let me quick find out what else about moving to London. It's sunny now. It's so sunny. I have the studio set up here. I have Mac in the corner. I have my friend Nathan in one corner. My two bucks. It's real sunny. When I got here first, though, it was so grey. It was so grey. And I guess something I realized too, a really good quote I seen recently was, you don't find yourself, you create yourself. And that's something that this city offers. I don't think you come to this city to find yourself. I don't think you come to London to find yourself. You come to create yourself. And I've been creating myself. Just like I said previously, you have a blank canvas. Even if, like, doesn't matter what age you are, if you take out a blank sheet, boom, all of a sudden you have a blank sheet in front of yourself to draw the character, to draw who you want to be, to draw what you dress like, what you sound like. And that's something, even in little ways, I've done. And that's something London affords me to do more, is continue creating yourself. That's all it is. Because even the way I communicate, like, I didn't chat so confidently, and the way I use my hands and whatnot, just little things like that, like 4 or 5 years ago, it was just something I added on. It was just a new skill. And in the new skills, you're continue creating this, yourself, this human being or character, whatever you want to call ourselves in this floating universe. And that's what, like, big cities, I guess, offer you the opportunity to do. They offer the opportunity to create yourself more, because there's new environments to be to be taken advantage of, I guess. I was also thinking, I was listening to a really interesting podcast about autonomy versus connection, and how most people who want autonomy, who like are chasing a dream, who chase like, I guess, success or whatnot, and kind of a little bit more selfish of what they want in life, will move to a city, versus people who want more connection and whatnot will stay in the countryside. And it was a really good example of he gave in the podcast Modern Wisdom of like, you move to a big city, and say if you're in an apartment block, and say in the apartment block there's 1,000 people, how many of them 1,000 people would you trust with the key to your apartment? Versus if you lived in the countryside and your nearest neighbour was 4 miles down the road, Tommy, you'd probably trust him with your keys to your house or your apartment, which is like really strange, but completely makes sense when you think about it. And also just the connection, I guess, because it affords you the opportunity to move in the city, autonomy of what you want to accomplish, and just the connection of the countryside. And it's really interesting because growing up, I'm so glad I grew up in the countryside. I'm so glad I grew up in the countryside and had dreams of, because the first time I went to a city, I was 13. So I hadn't been to a city until, I'd been to Dublin, but I don't even remember it. But I remember going on holidays to Bradford. And just a context, Bradford is not a city. It's a town at most. But I guess due to population, it's called a city. But I was just taken back by it. I was like, wow, there's McDonald's open at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what is this place? And I was like, wow, you can get like a bus for somewhere 10 minutes down the road. I was completely shell-shocked. I was like, what is this? What is going on? So I'm really grateful I had that experience. But at the same time, like I would say I was very naive, because when you grow up in the countryside, you had this innocence. I would say a lot of people have this innocence versus living in the city. And I'm just very grateful for that. So I guess when I was thinking about if I was have a family in the future, how would I do it? Because would I just raise them in the countryside, or raise them in the city, then move to the countryside? So that just had me thinking about like that dynamic in the future and whatnot. And obviously getting older too, because that's something too, realizing is like getting older and being the person I am. And I don't know what's next chapters, because I was thinking I'm only 3 years. Technically I'm 2.5 years. So when do I turn 30? Is it 2.5 years time? Oh wow, that's quite crazy. Wowee! Oh god, guys, I'm having a meltdown. Guys, I don't know how to act. This is live recording. Please call somebody. Damn. Anyhow, so think about like what's going to happen in my 30s. Where would I live? How would I look? Because I always had this vision for my 30s of like being bulk and living in a new place or new environment. But anyways, let me bring it back. So I was just thinking about like raising my family in the city and stuff, or raising the countryside. But yeah, that kind of brings that part of the potty with London, and kind of how that fit. I suppose other random things, been just doing my marathon training around London, around Richmond Park. I love Richmond Park so much. It's so cool. So yeah, I just been doing my jogging, and then I jogged down to Buckingham Palace one day. I did half marathon. Well, I did like 10 miles, 3 miles off a half marathon. But it was a bloody nightmare because there was just too many people I had to jog around. So I was like, I'm not doing that again. So that was funny. But anyways, yeah, I want to bring it on to my training. So obviously I've been training for my marathon. And damn, the training's been going well, but the last 3 weeks have been more intense. Because I've been doing the longer runs. So I did a 10 mile, 13 mile, which is half marathon, and then another 10 mile last Sunday. But oof, I hurt my ankle a little bit because I stood on it, and that was like 2 weeks ago, but then it's been hurting the last couple of days. So I got to look after that. It's a month out to the marathon, which is so exciting. I also want to be in good, I know I will be, but I just want to make sure I'm in like really good, like a really good state of mind, and my body's in good form, and just being in the optimal as I can. Because guys, the last time I did London, wowee, no bad preparation. But anyway, so I just want to be in the best prepared state I can be. So been doing that. I do have a funny one. I have a funny story, guys. I got a funny story. So you know, when you go do a long run, especially like a marathon or a half marathon or like ultra marathon running, you got to take in consideration you're going to need a number 1 or number 2. And that's never happened to me before. Obviously, when I did the marathon back in 2022, I went to take a Wiz Khalifa's a whiz a few times, but not a number 2. You guys, where am I going with this? I think you know. So anyhow, I was on my run, and it was all going well, and I got to mile 9, so I had 4 miles left, and I was doing a 10 mile, so I only had a mile left, and I just needed to poop. I just needed a number 2, and I was like, bruh, can I hold it? Is that possible? And I was like, I tried running, and I was like, no, I can't hold it. So I was like, oh no, I'm only a mile off. But then I was like, no, I can't hold it. So anyways, I was bursting. So I went into a cafe, opened up my Google Maps and checked where the nearest cafe was. Seen a cafe, I was like, right, slow jog to get there. It was only like 10, 20 seconds away. Got there. Went in. I was like, of course I had to order a coffee. I didn't even want a coffee, but I was like, I can't just go there. I'm going to have to order a coffee. So I did the right thing, the right social thing or whatever. And I ordered a coffee. So I ordered the coffee, went upstairs, and bruh, I ain't going to lie, I was there for about 15 minutes at least. My body was getting rid of a lot, to put it in a nice way. So anyways, felt $1 million after, came down. Was not too pleased with the lady who's serving me. She wasn't very nice. I feel like she was the owner too. Because I've only ever met, coffee shops, guys. I love coffee shops. Why do I love coffee shops? Because you meet lovely people in there and it's good vibes. This place though, I don't know, I wasn't feeling the vibe. And I wasn't feeling her either, to be honest with you. So I wasn't too impressed with her. But then came out, had my coffee, ended up ringing Dylan and ended up walking home just because I'd finished the jog. So that was kind of funny. Rule and note to self: be careful with marathon and needing poops. That's also something I've been just wary of, needing good energy, like knowing to myself, it's not good for me to wake up at 7 and jog at 8. I need to be at least running at like 9.5. I need like time for my body and mind, spirit to wake up, have good food in me in order to do them long runs, which like is common sense. But again, I just learned that you learn these things when you're doing them. So, just been doing the jogs. That's been good. As I said, my ankle's a little bit. I'm excited for Milan. I'm about to do I have a really good line about this, but I'm about to do the Milan Marathon and treat it like a jog in a park. Damn, they wish I had my heart. That's the line. But I'm about to do a jog marathon, treat it like a walk in the park. Damn, I wish they had my heart. Because all I ever do is hit the bullseye. They wish they had my darts. It's in Milan. Exciting, so exciting. And going with the WP Master Joshua. I actually have to book it. I'm probably going to book it this weekend. Nathan, I don't know if Nathan's coming. I hope he's coming. Nathan, well, you know, guys, one of my best friends, Nathan Sheridan, around the world like a young Nate Sheridan. Where is it? He's currently in Las Vegas at the moment. Before that, he was in Spain, then he was in Liverpool, then he was in Slovakia, and then Montenegro, and then a couple more places. And that's just a year. I think he did all that in like a month. Why? Because he's around the world like a young Nate Sheridan. Love Nathan. What a man. He's there. He's actually there. Look at him there. That'll be incredible. Going to Milan. I've been to Italy once, Veni back in 22. That was lovely. A couple people said that Milan's not a nice place, but I'm gonna have a great experience. Go to hopefully Lake Como for a couple of days maybe or something like that, and really have an enjoyable experience, guys. So that's very exciting. What else has happened? A couple of things have happened. Obviously back doing podcast and building momentum and figuring it out, because most days I have I'm driving, I'm excited, I'm full with enthusiasm, I'm focused, and then some days the lack of numbers gets to you. It really does get to you sometimes when you look at the numbers and go, oh, why can't my videos just fucking go up like other people's videos? But I'll get them to work. I'll figure it out. I will do it. I will accomplish what I'm here to accomplish. So just figuring that out. Obviously running the business, juggling that with more responsibility. That's exciting. God, guys, so many crazy things happening with the business. From where we were a couple of years ago to the artists we're working with now, one hell of a roller coaster. Also, I was in the Sony building. That was so cool. I was in the Sony building twice. That was hella cool in London. So that was really cool. Met some very lovely people. What else have I done since I got here? Ate out in a couple nice restaurants. You know, as I said, I'm preferring to go on here. Even though Dishoom, I do like Dishoom. Me and Joshua. Josh came over last weekend. My good friend Joshua came over last weekend, and we went to Dishoom and got some lovely food and whatnot. So that was really nice. But yeah, it kind of brings me to, I'm going to be fully a month here on this Sunday. And yeah, what else about moving to London? I guess one thing, and I don't really touch on this, and I purposely don't touch on this, thus I'm mentioning it deep into the podcast, but I'm at the point in my life now where I'm open to a relationship, and I don't really speak on, and I'll never really speak on like dates or relationships, even though I got a hell of stories on that too. Maybe one day I might open up about it. Probably not though, because there's a certain couple of things, there's a myriad of things that I said I would never talk about on the podcast, just because I see these podcasts as like such an intimate an experience that I give, like I say so much that like it's important that I keep some intimate things to myself. I think that's how I remain in a nice evolved balance, is keeping some things about my life to myself. Which I do anyways. You'd be thinking sometimes, listen back to this, Jesus mate, because a person said to me, so this is kind of like, they listen to the podcast and they're like, this is kind of like a public diary. And I was like, yes, it is kind of, because I am very honest. But there also is things that like it's important I keep to myself and keep that balance, that divide, I guess. But I will say something. I will say I am in the position now, in the mindset and the kind of, where would I say, like the location in the universe, that is a terrible way of putting it, anyhow, of being open to a relationship, because that's something I've never really been properly. So I would say that doesn't mean I want a relationship, but being open to that, I was never open to that for many reasons. Some reasons I won't get into it. One reason, obviously, moving around so much, because I never was like, oh, I'm going to be in this place for like a long period of time. But lucky that was kind of excuses, just because I was kind of like healing. But anyway, so I am open to that. So we'll see what happens there. And yeah, just here for someone asked me, I'll tell you, yeah, I'll leave you on this one. Oh God, this is so good. All right. And go. So it's the 9th of February. I get a taxi from Lucan to Dublin Airport. Get in the taxi, lovely guy. He actually had a nail, was it a nail business, like a nail paint business? And I was we're chatting back and forth, and he's like, oh, you going on holidays? And I was like, oh, I'm moving to London. And he goes, why are you moving to London? And I just turn and go, why not? So anyways, lovely guy. Cost me fucking €55, the bloody thing though. Jesus, guys. So much money. So anyways, I get to the airport, check in and whatnot. I had a big bag. I usually don't have to check in bags, because I only have luggage that I take on board, but had to check in my big bags, had to take out some things, wear them anyways, because like I was moving, so I had a lot of stuff. Got on the plane. Did I meet any characters on the plane? No, I didn't meet any characters. It's just this weird guy who sat beside me. But I had that interesting experience of like getting on the plane and just remembering the moment, really putting it as a core memory and cementing it in my heart of like, yes, I'm about to go on a new adventure, just like I did for any other chapters in my life. So anyways, bring it back before I even get on the plane. Bring all the way back before I even get on the plane. So it's that gate, find my gate, go through security, get to the gate. It says, I think it's 223 or whatever the gate was. I can't remember the fucking gate or whatever the gate number was. So anyhow, I see the gate number. I go to the gate. So my flight's at, I got an early flight. It's at 7 o'clock and I'm there at like 20 to 7. And I don't see anyone. And I'm like, hold up a second here. What's going on here? So I'm thinking, I was like, am I at the right gate? So I'm looking around, and then I check the board, and I look at my flight, London Gatwick, and I was like, I'm at the wrong fucking gate. So I was like, oh no, and I'm at the other side of Dublin Airport. So I was like, oh no. So I get my bags anyways, and I start sprinting because it was downstairs. It was one of the gates that was downstairs. I sprint up the stairs and I'm running anyways, and I'm at the part where you know the moving floors, the elevator floors or whatever they're called. You know, you stand on them and they just go forward. I get to there and I'm like, no way, I'm going to make this. Like I was back and forth looking at the time, and out of nowhere, one of the lads just pops up in them little the little trucks, you know, that bring like elderly people and people with injuries. And I just like out of nowhere, perfect timing, I just bang on. I was like, oh man, can I just get a lift? And he looks at me, he's like, yeah, hop in. And he's like, what gate are you? And I told him my gate, and he's like, what time's your flight? And I said 7:00. And I was like, is the gate closed? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, do you reckon it'll still be open, like even though it says it's closed? And he's like, oh, probably be closed. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I got a feeling it's Ryanair. Ryanair are pretty good for keeping the gate open for people. So in my mind, I was like, I bet you I can make it. I was like, I know I can make it. So anyways, he brings me down near the gate and he's like, best of luck, because I told him I was moving to London. And I hop in his and I sprint down to the gate. I'm running with my big bag. I'm sprinting. Get right to the gate. Boom. Right on time. Literally about to close in like 5 minutes. Even it said on the app it closed, but in reality it hadn't closed. Perfect timing, got in, and like, guys, I knew well it was going to be a good adventure, because I was like, I kind of see like signs from like the universe like that. If things like that happen, where like, okay, I'm on the right track. It's going to be all good. So that was a very nice sign that I got in just right on time. It was also awfully stupid, guys. It was also ridiculously stupid. Oh God. Another thing too is what I've been trying to do. You know, when you speak, it's so easy to speak down to yourself. And speak negatively and speak unpleasant to yourself, but I've been really trying to catch myself when I do that. And hold on a second here, I wouldn't say that to my best friend. I wouldn't say that to my mother. I wouldn't say that to a stranger if they made that mistake. I would speak clearly and speak to the point and like try to find a solution and not make a big thing of it, because making a big thing of it doesn't accomplish anything. But yet I always seem to do it when I make a mistake. I'll try to like really put myself down, like belittle myself. So I'm really trying to grow with that and really like evolve and not do that anymore. And not never do that, because it's going to happen, but just do it less and less. And being hard on yourself, but being hard on yourself with finding a solution, not with the mistake, not with the problem, with the solution. Because it's not nice to be hard on yourself when you make a mistake and fuck up, but it is good to be hard on yourself to find the solution. Let me find the solution to this, and let me really dedicate myself to the solution, because you're trying to fix something. You're trying to find a way out. You're trying to find the positive of the situation and not just focusing and belittling yourself on the negative. So yeah, that's something I've been trying to work on and will continue to work on, I guess. And yeah, that's kind of a few bits there, guys, on moving to London and my experiences so far. Let's see, how are we for time? I hope it's recording okay. Oh, wowzers, it's 53 minutes. God, guys, I didn't really mean to go on that long. But it is what it is. Actually, I want to leave on a quote that I seen. It's a very nice quote. Let me see it. I'll read it here. So this is a very nice quote. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more that it will elude you. But if you pay attention to other things, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder. Happiness, man. Don't chase happiness, just do, and happiness will arrive eventually. Shout out happiness. Guys, this has been another episode of The One Step at a Time with your host, The Ocean Flight 111, heading straight to full potential with 0 delays. Guys, not one delay. It's amazing how we've been going almost 2 years and there hasn't been one delay. As I always say, a bit of turbulence, but not one delay, baby. Alrighty then. Guys, don't have a nice day. Have a great day. Have a lovely day. God bless.
Yeah, that's just how it goes these days. I'ma try my best to make a flight, but if I don't wake up tomorrow, then it's